Hi. How are y'all? I'll save that part for just a bit. Oh, excuse me. Hello, Dan. Oh, we already got some stuff here I can just throw up there. As usual, please let me know if you can hear me okay, because I'm still just slightly paranoid that I'm going to have another crash here and my audio won't be working. So let me know. Dan and Terra, good evening. Caleb, my father is an alcoholic horror story. Dadgummit. I'm sorry to hear that. Stephen McAfee, I'm on night 3 of drinking no alcohol, and it's crazy how much different I feel already. Nice. Wait till you hit 3 weeks, and then 3 months, and then 3 years. Good job, Stephen. Keep it up. Tammy. Hi, Tammy. My dad was an alcoholic. I know all too well. The Life of Jeremiah Rios. Hey yourself. Perfect. Y'all can hear me. Good deal. Well, how is everybody? Khalid Mohammed, how are you? You were in there early today. And Lisa Clark. And who's this? Aust. You're a new one. I've not seen you. I hope not to get into alcohol. I don't know what it does, but I know it ain't good. Wise words and wise choice. Part of the reason I want to do this is to talk about my own recovery with alcohol, what an alcoholic is, what people think it is, the myths about around alcohol, the way alcohol is used to control you, and you probably don't even know it. And all of this is coming just simply for me, for my own grief, for my own observations. I am 22 months sober today. Cannot wait to be, the full 2 years. And I haven't talked a whole. I mean, I always like shit on alcohol when I talk about it if I bring it up, but I haven't really talked about my progress lately, like I used to in the first few months. And I wanted to do it today. And what better day on happy summer solstice? I did not realize today was it. I was just looking at Facebook, and someone brought it up. Thank you for sharing your story from Lisa Clark. Well, thank you. Oh, you're welcome. There's Panna. How much of a lie do you think it is? The idea that a small amount of wine is good for your heart. Bullshit. It's bullshit. Good question, but it's bullshit. That's somebody making up a clever little story to write up for their vlog or their blog. It's just horseshit. There's no such thing as a healthy amount of alcohol. It can be used in certain situations, like it probably wouldn't hurt me right now to get this frog out of my throat. When I was a child, my parents did not drink, but mom kept a bottle of Old Crow whiskey in the medicine cabinet, and it stayed there, and it just barely went down year after year after year. And we only got it. She only gave it to us. And I don't even know if parents do that anymore. I don't remember ever doing that with my kids. But when I was a child, I was born in 1977. Apparently that was a thing that parents just did that back then. They'd give mom, and she'd just get a little teaspoon, little tiny teaspoon. And I hated it. It was just so awful. I don't know if it worked. Seemed like it maybe it, help with the horse. Some people, if you use it as medicine, I suppose they're for a temporary thing. But as far as a regimen, a healthy amount of alcohol, that is some bullshit that alcoholics love to peddle. It's a justification to drink their wine, or justification to their beer, or their whatever they're drinking. And Hollywood is just plumb full of it. It's plumb full of A-listers who absolutely love to peddle their own pet brands. And yes, I know, as big of a fan of Johnny Depp as I am for what he's done, not necessarily his acting, but just the person he is, I know I'm fully aware of the mega pint of wine, though I did not partake and cheers with him. But I would imagine even Johnny, after what he's been through in the last few years, is probably thinking about his own mortality. I'm not sure how old he is. I'm quite positive he's in his late 50s, if not 60. But um, unless he just doesn't care to go on and on and on, there's no such thing as alcoholics who live to be centenarians that I'm aware of. And every single one of us has heard horror stories or lived horror stories about alcohol. We've all seen it in the movies. Great movies, excellent movies. One of my favorite movies of all time is Tombstone and Doc Holliday. That guy's got more one-liners, more famous one-liners than anyone I can think of. Isn't that a daisy? What does he say? Y'all daisy if you do. Nonsense, Wyatt. I'm just begun to defile myself. And he's always drunk. And I love the movie. And I'm glad the movie is made. I mean, I'm not saying, well, that just kind of brings me into my next part of what I want to talk about alcohol. Is anybody who's watched anything that I've talked about in the last 2 years, I constantly shit on alcohol. But let's be real. Alcohol in the short run is fun. Alcohol in the short run is fun. It is one of the coolest feelings for about that long. And the only reason I know it's because I did it. That's the only reason anybody does it. I mean, when you first start drinking, you can't tell me you just loved the first beer you ever had. You just love that first margarita you ever had. It's awful. It's just awful. You develop a taste for it, and you develop a tolerance for it. The more you drink, and especially when you're young, it's kind of fun to brag to your friends about how much you can drink and still stand. I mean, look at all the wonderful old movies we've all seen that just glorifies alcohol. I mean, I'm not saying the movie shouldn't be made. I mean, I'm not here to say alcohol should be outlawed. I mean, if you're going to outlaw anything, weed or alcohol, I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer, but abolition of alcohol obviously doesn't work. This country tried it back in the 20s, like 8 or 10 years on the national level. Prohibition. A bunch of people sort of kind of like me got up and with the Congress critters and decided it was a good idea to outlaw it. So they wound up killing people over possession, bootleggers, what is it, NASCAR? I'm pretty sure that's how NASCAR got formed. People were getting these hot rod engines and putting them in these new things called vehicles. They start out the Model T, and then they just got bigger and bigger and more horsepower, and they'd learn to jack up the rear end and load the trunk just plumb to the brim with moonshine. And why did they do it? They did it because people like it. People love alcohol. There was a demand for it. And no matter how much you outlaw it, no matter how many Congress critters get together and say, we're going to outlaw this and we're going to stamp it out. The war on alcohol, when the truth be known, alcohol is the preferred drug of politicians. That's why it's legal. Because they can regulate it and they can tax it. And they know you're going to pay for it. They know you will because, again, truth be told, alcohol's fun. Once you get used to it, for me, as an introvert, a severe introvert at that, I think I got drunk twice in high school, maybe off 1.5 or 2 beers. The first time I ever got drunk was at my buddy Kevin's house, and no, I'm not going to give his last name, but it's actually at his mom's house, his parents' house. I was a junior or senior, I can't remember, a junior or senior, and I wound up just ralphing in the kitchen sink there after maybe 2 beers, and I didn't like it. Well, I did for just that long, but obviously I don't like vomiting. I don't know many people that do. And you keep going and going and going, and eventually you get to the point where it takes 3 beers, and then you learn to take naps before you go out on weekends. Like on a Saturday night, you learn I woke up at 7, so if I get a nap in between 1 and 3, I can stay up a little bit longer, and then I can you start getting where you could take a whole 6-pack, and then you get to where you could slam 2 6-packs, and then that's not fast enough. We come up with clever delivery systems called shotgunning. You shotgun them, you poke a hole in the deal, and then you get bongs, and they make fun parties. But in reality, when the truth sets in, you get to going and going and going and going, and it's expensive. And then you start, eventually, when you get older, you start feeling the physical effects on your body. Your liver's swollen, your joints are swollen. And then you find out, what's in my case is I never drank in my, I mean, a little bit in my early or late teens, early 20s, a very little. But when I was married with kids, I mean, we never drank. It was just something we didn't do. And then I got divorced, and I went through a sad period. I lost my nuclear family, and it was just fun. You get depressed, well, your friends come over, hey man, come on, cheer up, have a beer, have 10, have a shot, have some Jello shots, and then you start having a good time. Well, I wanted to have a good time. I wanted to get my mind off of it, so I go from drinking to drinking with people, and as an introvert, it loosened me up. That's what alcohol does to everybody. Actually, it loosens you up. I'm not an extrovert. I know a lot of extroverts. Extroverts are fun to be around, especially when they're drinking. They're fun to be around when they're sober, but god dang, you get them drunk and they're a hoot. But I drank I would what most would call a weekend drinker back then. But then my professional drinking career started on that hot August afternoon there in the Ector County parking lot when my son was ripped away from me. That was by far the absolute worst day of my life. That entered a depression that I had never been in before. Getting divorced in the beginning, losing my nuclear family, that was hard. That was probably the toughest thing I'd ever gone through. And then, getting a divorce a second time. And back then, my cousin died the night before she left, and then she left. And then a week later, my grandmother died, and it just went boom, boom, boom. It just hit so hard. That was in 2012. And I was a drinker, but I didn't have to have it to function. I didn't have to have it to go to sleep. I just did it because it was fun. And it was like, what the hell? I don't give a shit. But then Parker was taken from me. And when Parker was taken from me, that if I had a soul, it blackened it. It squished it. It removed any, I was in so much pain that I just had to numb it. And I went straight home. I even told my mother after I turned the camera off there in the parking lot in Parker versus the Man, I said, I'm going to go home to get goddamn shit faced. And my mother, being, a Christian woman, she just cringes when I talk like that. And she and my sister both go, no, 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 no. Okay. I said, Mom, stop. And I don't remember exactly what all was said. And I wasn't angry at them. I was just, I mean, it was just the rawest. I was just like, I'm not really shaking. That's how I felt. Everything was just shaking. It was just raw nerves with gasoline poured on it. And I did. I went home, got just fucking shit faced drunk. And that's how I coped with the depression. And I do not, I must say, I do not recommend it. It was the dumbest thing I ever did. Well, after a while, Parker was 14 then, and he turned 15, and then 16, and I just kept, for at least the first year, the first week, I even tried going to work the next day, and I couldn't do it. I was probably hungover. I know I was, but probably wasn't legally drunk. I'd pissed it all out, but I was hungover, but I was just still heartbroken, just absolutely heartbroken. I went home and I went to the store and I bought, I don't know how many cases of beer, just cases of it, 6 or 8. Like I had a bunch of beer. I loaded up. I didn't want to feel anything. And I stayed off of work for at least 2 or 3 days and just didn't eat. All I did was I'd wake up, start over, do it again. Well, eventually I realized, the initial pain had to go. If for no other reason, that was on a Monday. My scheduled visitation with my cheer-ins was that coming Friday. I had to pull it together to drive to San Antonio. And I did. I pulled it together and I went and picked the kids up. And my buddy Miranda, I'll never forget, she was so kind. Uh, she had a bunch of points and she, helped pay for a big hotel downtown San Antonio. I talked to her just the other or yesterday. No, actually this more today on Facebook. And anyways, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but when I was down there, I'd do the thing with the kids for sure. And then we go to the room and start drinking. That was just a regular thing. And then eventually the pain started, or the depression, pain from depression started to recede. And then as the years went by, it turned into, I do this so much every single day that if I didn't drink, I couldn't sleep. And that's where I was 22 months ago when I finally had enough. I had to quit drinking beer because I had gotten so fat. So, and plus beer is a lot more expensive. And I figured out you could buy gin, and at that you could buy rot gut gin for really cheap, like big whole handles for like, $12. But then you got to go mix it with something, because I never was one of those that could, just take swigs of it like they do in the movies. I don't know many people that can. Almost everybody, even the professionals that were more professional than me, they had to chase it with something. So you got a cost of that, and then there's ice, and it was just a regular thing, and it's nothing that I'm proud of. I'm actually ashamed of it, and I've talked to my kids about it lots and lots and lots of times. Even while I was doing it, I acknowledged I had a problem, but I justified it. But 22 months ago today, I finally just had enough, because I got hammered as usual and fell asleep. If I can remember correctly, I want to say I fell asleep a little early, like passed out at 8 o'clock. And then I woke up probably 10 o'clock and did what I normally did. Oh, I got to go, got to go to sleep. So I started drinking again, and then I was drinking and drinking and drinking. And 11 o'clock came and 12 o'clock came, and then I was getting heartburn. I was like, why am I still coherent? like my belly, I could feel it, the pressure building up. And I'm like, damn, I drank over a, a half a handle. And I knew that something had to give. Of course, I didn't quit that night, but I went ahead and I don't know if I finished the whole thing, but I drank enough to pass out again. And even then, I didn't sleep very well. And I knew the next step in progress would be okay, I drank for depression and then I drank to sleep. And now it doesn't even really put me to sleep very long. And I'm already woken back. I've woke back up. So what am I going to do? Keep drinking more? I mean, I was already broke. And so I decided this is it. No mas. And I got the shakes the very next night, like the shakes. And it was so terrible. Wound up getting a little bit of weed. And over the course of about a week, I just don't like weed, but it was enough to make the night sweats. I'd just wake up for a week. I'd wake up. I'd finally just go to sleep because my body is so used to having the booze. And I'd wake up and my sheets would just be completely soaked. I'd go to sleep with a white T-shirt on, big old swollen belly, and it was humiliating. It was so I'm so ashamed of myself. But the only way I know to get through it is to talk about it. And people judge me. I know some do. A lot of people are really nice about it, but I know my haters online. They well, we can put two and two together. You were slobbered, falling down drunk when you had your kids, and blah blah blah. No, I wasn't. I was a very high functioning alcoholic. I went to work every day. Well, other than those 2 or 3 days right after he was taken, but once I got into the groove of things, I went to work every day. It didn't matter. In fact, I got to where I'd plan my field jobs. If it was a scheduled maintenance and not a train wreck, an emergency, okay, I did. I start doing drunk math. I've got to be at that rig at 7 in the morning, and it's X amount of miles away, so it's 2 hours away. So that's a 2 hour drive. I got to leave by 5. So I got to, be up by, 3 so I can drink coffee and catch up on social media and blah, blah, blah. I got to have 6 hours sleep. So that means I got to pass out by 9. That means I got to start drinking by 6 or 6:30 because it takes 2.5 hours to really get the job done. And that's how I planned a lot of my, it's humiliating to admit, but that's how I planned a lot of my field jobs. And I never I never called in sick, never called in hungover, even if I was. And even then, I got to the point where I was hungover, but I was just so used to it. I was used to feeling like crap. And that's another thing. Anybody that ever says that I could drink a fifth of Jack Daniels and chase it with a whatever and never got a hangover, they're lying. They're wanting to impress you. They are lying through their tooth. People would tell me that, and I'm like, dude, I know better. You can shit the fans. You can't shit the players, man. I know better. I did it professionally for 7 years. You feel it. I haven't even looked at any of the comments. I'm so sorry. I wanted to get that off my chest. This is my 22 months, and I'm working out, and I'm down to 187 pounds. And I promise you, which one is it? You don't retain that kind of muscle being a drunk. I promise you, you don't. I was in the gym today and saw this dude. He's pretty muscled up, but he was younger, and I could tell he was just talking smack. He's just so disgusting, talking about all these women, and his wife doesn't even know, and he's just so gross. But I could tell he's talking about how much they drink on weekends and sometimes more. And I got to looking at him and like, he had some muscle, but man, he got a belly on him too. He's trying his hardest to stay young. I would have guessed he's probably 30, 35. But I got news for you, man. As you get older, you start looking like Bill Gates. You look like a a pin cushion with pencils for arms. That's just what that. I'm not saying it. I have no idea if Bill Gates works out or drinks or not drinks, but Sarah Jane, congratulations, Caleb. Well, thank you very much. Crispy, everyone gets a hangover. They do. You know, some are worse than others. I remember when I first started getting hangovers, you know, they were puking. You know, I got to the point I'd go, you know, years without ever, you know, barfing, ralphing, hugging the toilet, saluting the porcelain throne. There's a jillion sayings for that. I mean, I got to where I could go years at a time, and you know, I'd be hungover, but I wouldn't puke. But when I first started getting them, the hangovers, the next day is just a severe headache and vomiting. When it got to the point to where it was just a brain fog, that's the only way I know to really describe it. It was just brain fog. How are you able to drive hungover? Brain fog. It's just constant brain fog. Um, I mean, your body processes from the best I've ever seen, and the professionals seem to universally agree on this, about 1 ounce per hour. So, you know, even even if I passed out at 9 o'clock and or yeah, 9 o'clock, yeah, I might have had a little bit left in me, but it was mostly peed out by the next morning. But the brain fog, even by 5 p.m., the brain fog's still there. Lily Mack, you are courageous, Caleb. Don't let anybody tell you different. Thank you for your honesty about drinking. Honesty is critical towards sobriety. It is, and you're welcome, but it is. You first have got to be honest with yourself. Only you can make yourself quit drinking. If you've got a loved one that's drinking, you can try to convince them, but only they will have to make that decision to stop. And it stops with you've got to, you know, that's one of the things that I happen to agree with AA. You've got to admit you've got a problem. And that's part of the reason I do this, because I see so many friends and, you know, even family that are still struggling with it. It's weird. I noticed my Facebook feed. Again, some people I know in person on there and some people I don't. And some are actually I consider pretty good friends that I know that, you know, I've never even met them. But I could tell when I finally sobered up and I came out and was just brutally honest about how bad it was. I could tell the ones that were probably in the same boat because they stopped talking to you. Your drinking friends, they act different. Coincidentally, non-drinkers like me and others, they like, or your family, they tend to eventually get sick of your shit. And they change. They'll change their attitudes towards you. They don't like it. Maybe they don't even know exactly what it is they don't like if they're, you know, young, but it's just a natural reaction if you're drunk all the time. And they don't want to be around you. And I noticed that about myself, even with my own kids as they got older. Like, I'll never forget, you know, I've talked about this in my videos when you know, Hayden reached out and said, "Hey, Dad, come on, let's go work out." I was already sober a year, but I hadn't started working out. But I remember before that, he was already grown. They were driving. I was living in this little house out in what's the name? I can't believe I forgot that name of that town. Not Conroe, but next to Willis, Texas, way out in the boonies. And I'd started drinking like 3:30 because, you know, why not? It was, you know, the pandemic was going on. There's absolutely nothing else to do. And so I started drinking, I don't know, 2 or 3. And Hayden texted or he might have called me. Oh, he called me and said, "Hey, you want to go work out?" And I knew I couldn't drive. And even if I could drive, you can't go to the gym drunk. I mean, you talk about it's already counterproductive to, work out and then go get trashed all the time. To get trashed and then go try to go work out, it's like the dumbest thing ever. And I knew I couldn't, and I had to turn him down. And they were excited about, I could tell it was him and Blaine both. They were wanting to go work out, and I had to turn them down because and to this day, I still feel shitty about it. I've talked to him about it and I've apologized to him. And it wasn't too long. I didn't live in the house very long anyway, so I know it wasn't too long after that. That's when I said, "Fuck this." I just quit. Cold turkey. Never had a drink since. Crispy, they can't cure an alcoholic. That is an interesting statement, Chris. I happen to disagree respectfully. And that's what this is about. Everybody's got their own opinions about just about everything. We don't all have to agree exactly on everything. I don't expect everyone to agree with me completely on everything. And we can still, talk and discuss. That's why, that's the spirit of debate, to give different perspectives. Chris says, they can't cure an alcoholic. Personally, I happen to disagree. I do not consider myself an alcoholic. And I know what they say. They say once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. I've read that a million times. I've heard it said 1,000 times by people. But I've also, over the years, or particularly the last 22 months, looked up the definition of an alcoholic. And there's really not, you'd be surprised how many different definitions there are of an alcoholic. What is an alcoholic? We know it when we see it. We know a drunk. I mean, I'm sure people, my kids included, especially, they knew I was a drunk. They knew I was an alcoholic. Every time I see dad at night, he's always drinking. But I don't drink now. I don't have the slightest temptation to drink whatsoever. And this is where I differ with Alcoholics Anonymous. I know they say once you're an alcoholic and always an alcoholic. Personally, and I don't have any way to prove this. It's just my observation. So, take that for what it's worth. I encourage people to think about everything, question everything. Literally, again, it's tattooed on my arm. Question everything. This is my thoughts on alcoholics. The definition of an alcoholic at the moment is, I'm sorry, not the definition of what Chris has said here. There's no cure for it. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. I just simply think that's not terrible, but I think that's the human mind can be controlled and manipulated. We've all been around manipulators. Everyone has experienced some kind of manipulation. And I don't even know that AA intentionally tries to do that. I don't know. I don't know that, that much about them because I've never been to a meeting. I've actually wanted to go, and I may still go just for my own education. But to me, when you tell somebody who is in recovery or recovering or recovered, however you want to put it, you are labeled for life. Alcoholic. You got drunk all the time for many, many years and caused lots of problems. You got divorced and you cheated on your wife and your kids won't talk to you. And you haven't had a drink in 5 years, but you will always be tempted. But it's okay because, we're friends of Bill here. Just if you fall off the wagon, come back, which is fine. People do fall off the wagon. I get it. But they, without even possibly knowing what they're saying to somebody, is you are forever damned with this label. You are forever damned. You will always or probably always be tempted. And maybe they don't even say it that way, but if you call someone who's an alcoholic who hasn't had a drink in years, you set that seed in their head. And when I quit I don't remember how far along, a month or 2 or 3, or maybe it's 6 months. I don't really remember. But eventually I got to the point when I realized I feel so damn good not being drunk that how in the world am I an alcoholic when the last thing in my life that I'd ever want to do is ruin a good night or a good night's sleep by drinking alcohol. And so I remember thinking about this. I'm like, okay, so what is an alcoholic? Do you have to have a certain amount of drinks on a certain amount of time? Do you have to, so the average person who drinks, just on weekends, usually it's young people, or mostly it's young people. Are they alcoholics? They kept their job. Yeah, they've had problems. Everybody has problems. Alcohol tends to make a lot more problems. But if you get trashed on the weekend, are you an alcoholic? I don't know. Good question. If you get hammered every day, probably, yeah. Yeah, if you get hammered every day, you probably are. But I never drink, like ever, 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 ever drink. So what's the definition of an alcoholic? Someone who never drinks? Well, that doesn't make any sense. That sounds silly. So I just happen to disagree with that. I think that's very likely a bad precedent to tell somebody who is trying to get off, because there's no doubt it's addictive. No doubt. Very, 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 very addictive. Hell, it's fun. And even if it isn't, even if when people feel the pain, they still go back for more. It's obviously addictive. Redman Medicine Apparel, you're a voice to those who don't want to admit it. I'm trying. I really am. And I know that most people won't admit it because I was that person for 7 years. I'd say I admitted it to myself. Maybe with the kids, as in the later years when they're older, and I could talk to them about something age appropriate. So for instance, Parker's 23 now. I quit when he was 21. He's been of age, a grown man, adult. I can talk to him about adult situations, but I would admit it maybe to him, but I wouldn't dare admit it publicly, especially when I was going through the family courts. Especially then. There's no way in hell. And I even got popped with drug tests, like a lot of them, pee and hair follicle tests. And I passed them every time. I could manipulate it, even if I had to go early in the morning. Like, say I had to go at like 9:00. Again, I'd do the math. I can have this much, takes this long to get out. Even if I had to start, getting hammered, at noon the day before, pass out by, 7, sleep till about 1, 2 in the morning. I can manipulate it. Go take a piss test. Boom. It's out of your system. Timothy Sharp. Hey, Caleb, I saw your video about Parker 4 years ago. I'm 24 now. I'm not a dad, but I commend you for letting Parker stand up for himself. Well, thank you, Timothy. Chris P., you will know you have a problem when you have to have a drink in the morning to level yourself out. I never got to that point, Chris. That was, to me, one of my own justifications, I guess, in the beginning when I was an alcoholic, maybe a year in, 2 or 3 years in. But that was one of my justifications to myself. I never was tempted to put it in my coffee or put it in my cereal. And I know a lot of people are. People do that. But I never got to that point. In fact, the thought of alcohol in the morning, just quite frankly, it made me sick. I was already sick. Last thing I want to do is, add to that. But I happen to agree with you. Yeah, if you have to put it in your coffee, you've got a problem. Yeah, you're right. I agree. Fortunately for me, I never got to that point. Who knows? Maybe I wasn't an alcoholic. Maybe I hadn't drank myself to sleep enough years in a row daily to qualify by some people's definition of an alcoholic. Maybe if I would have kept going, where I would have poured it in my cereal or my coffee, maybe that would have been by some people's definition alcoholic. I don't know. Good thing, good comment, or good thing to point out and talk about. Christy Lee, I think Chris meant your kids. Oh, okay. You will know you have a problem. You have to have a drink in the morning to love it. I know I've had Chris's comments up there a couple times. Sorry, Chris. I got a little out of order here. How did you do that without getting sick? See, I'm. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and put the invite in the chat, and if this conversation might go a little easier. I know if some of y'all like Chris, or if you want to, you don't have to, but whoever wants to, if you've got like a conversation or multiple questions, I'm getting that little out of order, and I forget which one I'm responding to. And there. Okay, I've got the link for the StreamYard. If you would like to come on and discuss your horror stories, or ask me questions about my recovery, this is one of those topics I can pretty much answer, anything, because it's about me. I've done, well, no, I really haven't. This would be an ask me anything topic that I will answer thing. There's some things that I will not talk about, and that's my kids, specifically, where they're at now. But there's an excellent question. Did marijuana help you? Yep, sure did. Absolutely. I don't even like marijuana. Like, I don't like it. Like here in Florida, Delta 8's legal. Like, it's everywhere and no one cares. It's like everywhere. Everybody's got Delta 8. And I mean, they'll smoke it out in the parks and on the jetties, and no one cares. I mean, cops don't even care. It's readily available. Edibles, brownies, I mean, everywhere. I mean, I've had it a few times since I've been here, but I just don't like it because it gets me, Delta 8 just gets me so loopy. But I did use marijuana in Texas, of all places, for about a week. And I didn't like it, but I liked it better than the night shakes. I liked it better than not sleeping. Panda, were you able to drink less when you had the kids with you? I could make sure I did depending on what age they were, I was able to do whatever it is they needed to do. And they're little. I made sure, I didn't start it. Like if I got to take them to, a game or an activity or something, or if we just went, like we were mostly in San Antonio during all this time, I would, it wasn't a problem. Like going to the Riverwalk. The greatest trip I ever had, when I took the kids to Colorado to Casa Bonita, like it was no problem. I had plenty stashed for when we got the RV parked, but it was never a problem to, not drink while I was, driving the kids around. That never was a problem. It's kind of like, just going to work, it wasn't a problem for me going to work and being at work and working all day in the sun at that. But I would damn sure had my stash ready for when I got home. Dues or Chris 619 just came upon your channel. Have your thoughts on police improved, or just the same as when Parker video came out? That's kind of a loaded question. I'd say I'm probably not nearly as bitter and angry as I was back then. I was like really bitter and angry, but if to this day, if I get pulled over, I mean, my camera rolls. But I've been pulled over even since I've been here. But the cops here in Florida, or the ones that I've come in contact with, they're really polite. I don't just hold it up, blatantly in their face, but the one time I got pulled over here in Fort Pierce, no, not Fort Pierce, Okeechobee, is because the car I bought didn't have a license plate on it, and I was new to the state, and so I didn't have one. Hang on. He just pulled me over and was like, "Great, here we go." I had my camera going, ready, and he said, "Hey, pulled you over. You don't have a license plate." I said, "Yeah, no. I just bought it from Texas. I don't have a. I hadn't got. I didn't know you. They kept their plate when you bought it." He goes, "Oh, you bought it from an individual?" I said, "Yeah, some fellow down in Fort Lauderdale." And he did run my license and didn't have any warrants or anything. He said, you're good." I said, "I'm gonna, payday's next week or whatever. I'm gonna get it." He goes, "You're good. All right, take care." Like, wow, that was easy. Like Staples easy button. That was easy. Crawl 117. I'm 24 and I've only had alcohol a few times in my life and never very much in one sitting. Can you explain more about how it's addictive and what about it is addictive? I'll do my best. I'll give you my perspective of it. When you drink, after if you're new to it, it's going to taste like shit. I don't know anybody that said, "Oh, the first beer I ever had was just, oh, it's so wonderful." You get to that point because you smell it and you taste it, and within the next 30 minutes, hour, couple hours, depending on how fast you're knocking them back, you're about to feel just capital. 10 points if y'all know what quote that is. I'll give you a hint. It is from Tombstone. You feel just amazing because you feel loose. You feel, again, from an introvert, you get to where you feel like, hey, I'm not just shaking when I'm around public and around people, and I can talk to people, and even if I slur a little bit, they're slurring too, so it doesn't matter. And you wind up laughing at goofy things. Can you explain more about how addictive it is? I got to the point where I liked it. Like if I wanted to go out with my friends or they invited me somewhere, I knew, I'd know them, and I knew there would be people there that I didn't know, which would typically make me nervous. So I just, okay, it's like, get me a shot or give me a stiff drink and get me loosened up. And like, okay, crack, I got this. I can go talk to strangers. And, back then when I was chasing women, it just made it a lot easier. And you like that feeling. You like that feeling from a nerdy introvert who doesn't really talk to people in social situations. I've always felt awkward. I know that seems kind of like I'm full of shit. Here I am doing a podcast talking to people, but the family court changed me. But I would intentionally look forward to whether it's a date with some chick or a one night stand or just hang out and laugh, being the life of the party. Okay, there's my there's my magic pill. There's my magic drink. Okay, here comes magic drink. Just wait 30 minutes or an hour, and then, oh yes, here we go. It's time to party. It's time to have fun. And you get to where you like it. And then when it wears off, if you find yourself in a social situation, you start feeling awkward. No one likes feeling awkward, just like no one likes feeling, trapped or, anxious. So you get used to that nice feeling. And so you get past the bad taste and then you feel better. Ray Coke, what kind of weed? Shit, I don't know. I know there are different. I know there's sativa and indica, but I don't know the difference in them. Like it's just not. It's not my thing. I know that's blasphemous to my weed smoking friends. Like if that weed's your thing, I'm a big proponent. If you must dull the pain or to, get through the day or whatever, if that's your thing, if you have to have something, I'd much rather somebody do weed. I just personally don't like it. I actually wrote myself a personal note when I was high that I didn't enjoy it. Well, see, that's the funny thing about pot is, it gave us Tommy Chong. It gave us I know he's an older. Trying to think of the newer, who are the newer potheads? Seth Rogen, even Joe Rogan for that matter. Are they related? I just now, I just had like an epiphany. Let's see if I can remember which one of these it is. Are Seth Rogen and Joe Rogan related? I don't know. Maybe they are. I did watch Elon Musk supposedly burned a joint. I had some potheads said they don't think it was real, but some say it was. I don't know. Jason Barrickman, like I said, marijuana smells like a dead skunk. Yeah, to me, I know to some people, again, that's blasphemous, Jason, to say that, but to me, it just smells terrible. I cannot stand the smell of it. The Life of Jeremiah Rios, YouTube star. I never had alcohol. Good. Keep it that way. You're far. You'll be far more ahead. Did you do a personality test? I did that when I was working at the Caterpillar dealership when I was about 27 or so. I don't really have to take I don't have to take a personality test to know that I am a severe introvert. I call myself an introvert, recovering introvert. I do things that introverts don't normally do, like get an audience for a podcast, host events. I hosted an event one time in 2011 called Liberty Fest West. Hate crowds. Yet there I was drawing a crowd. Should I consider experimenting with new drugs? That's kind of a loaded question considering I don't know you and I don't know anything. I mean, I'm not a doctor, dude. I don't do drugs like many of them. Well, I mean, if you call snuff, I do snuff. I still dip. It's chewing tobacco, just goes in my lip. And people yell at me when normally I'd have a dip in right now. And people yell at me because they think it's gross. I had one lady tell me, every time you spit, Caleb, I just love you to pieces. It's like she sounds like my mom. Every time you spit it, you might as well just be farting into the microphone. It's that gross. And so I don't get a dip while here, but while I'm on there, because I know it kind of grosses people out. But if this is a drug, you don't burn it. For those of you who don't know, you just suck on it and spit the juice out. And, it's kind of gross, but whatever. I've been doing it since I was 15. And it doesn't give me any kind of high. It doesn't give me any kind of buzz. It's just a habit that I do. And that's next for me to quit. Hey, there's Eddie. What's up, brother? Family court survivor, former drunk, currently sober and loving it here in Strong Island, New York. Yes! Eddie Dunn and I go way back, like way, way back. We used to hate each other. I have a feeling we were both probably hammered back then. Would you or would you not say, Eddie? Yeah, we used to, I don't know if I should even say this. Oh, what the hell. We used to dabble in internet radio back when Bitcoin was like a whopping $5. And we were in some pretty raunchy young groups of people, and we talked some massive shit. But it's good to see you, man. God dang, I'm just so glad you're sober. When are you gonna get out of Long Island, dude? Come on, you got to move down here to Florida. I mean, all the cool New Yorkers have moved down here. You know that. Gigi and them, they're all down here. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. My mind just went blank. Eddie knows her. Ice Queen, help me out here. You know what I'm talking about. She's down here. She's doing great. You need to get down here, man. Get down to Florida. There's no fixing New York. What do y'all call it? The concrete jungle. Indica tires you out and Steva gets you active or hyper. I know there's a difference, but I never remember which one since I don't do either. I just it's not important to me to remember, but I do know that one does one does the other. There's Miss Mary. How are you? No, they are not related. Oh, the Rogans. Okay. Mary is never met. Contrary to what some internet rumors would love to say, we've just been Facebook friends for years and years and years, and she's come on here, and so she's one of my Whomping Willows, probably the one that I've had for the longest. She's in there, smacking. This is really nice. I don't know if I hadn't even been paying attention, Miss Mary. I don't know if back 2 years ago when I started doing these, I had a bunch. They were like putting a bunch of people in a timeout. I've set the chats where you can only do one comment every 5 seconds or something like that. It's just to make sure it doesn't happen, but it seems like this is nice. I know the viewership's low relative to the number of subscribers that I've got, but it's nice being able to see all of the or at least most of the comments. Tori McFarland, Elon is the man, international man of mystery. Isn't that Austin Powers? Swing. No, I'm getting my characters mixed up there. Yeah, Elon's he's different. He's strange. He's a strange duck. I like him for the most part, I think, unless he's controlled opposition, which some people think he is. I have no idea. Oh hell, I just put a dip in. Well, Chris knows exactly what I'm talking about. I love you, Caleb. Congrats on your show. Thank you, sir. Are you I know you've dabbled in it off and on. Holler at me sometime. Let's catch up on here. We can talk. Our favorite thing to argue about is Christianity. He and I go back and forth and we jab each other on Facebook about it. I think I get under his skin a little bit. Come on, let's do a debate sometime, brother. Panda, hey, I'm from Long Island. I'm so sorry. Just kidding. Just kidding. It's just a joke. I know some good people, Eddie being one of them. Lots of good people from up there in New York. You had swarms of haters when you first started, but I think they gave up. LOL. I hope so. I've still got plenty of like super haters, but they never ever come on here. Though I've never seen the 5 or 6 of them that I've got on the top of my head that I know. I've never seen them. They're too cowardly to come on here. Cali Belly, hope you do quit the snuff because it can cause cancer. My dad died of mouth cancer from smoking, and probably also the alcohol mouth cancer, as was an alcoholic. I've heard that, Callie, and I'm sorry to hear about your dad. And I've heard that. I've been told that this is going to kill me for 30 years now. It has chipped a couple of my teeth because I like bite it. Front 2 teeth a little chipped. I got to get those fixed one of these days. If this little fledgling podcast ever takes off, I'm gonna go get those fixed. But still got my jaw, and I'm going to quit just because I know it doesn't do anything. It's not like it's vitamins. How do I get a blue wrench? Oh, that's well, Jason, if I get to know you, if I see you in here long enough and we come, kind of like pals and I can trust you, that just means like Miss Mary, I assume that's what you're talking about. She's a moderator, but I mean, really, there's no, oh no, you can become, I guess I need to promote this. I have noticed, I'm going to get off on a little bit of a side note here. Speaking of admittedly, being a YouTuber, I still don't quite understand all the YouTube stuff, but Mary's got that. Where is she? Okay, she's got, well, on the comments it's green, but no, that's shit, I don't know. There's a wrench and then there's an S, and one of them is a moderator, and another one is not a subscriber, I hate brain farts. I'm going to blame it on the alcohol. A member. It's basically, you can chip in like 5 a month or 10 a month or whatever. And the reason I'm going to eventually start promoting that a little bit more, where is that person? How do I get a blue wrench? Jason. The reason I'm going to start that is I've noticed that I've pretty much figured out the words that I cannot say. As much as I disagree with censorship, YouTube's got a lot more money than I do. And this is maybe not my primary income, but maybe I'd like to get it there. There's certain words I just simply can't say. And there's certain topics that they don't get me a strike, but they do either limit the ads or no ads. I get credit for, the number of views and comments and whatnot. But there's some topics that I like talking about. And I have no idea. This may be one of those topics. I know everyone's seen alcohol ads out the wazoo, and I'm sure they advertise here, and they probably don't want to advertise on, my podcast. So this may be one of those topics talking about the truth about alcohol that advertisers don't like. And I can't say I blame them. If I was in a business, I wouldn't want to be on a show like this. I wouldn't want to advertise my product on here either, because it's literally counterproductive. But there's certain things I'd like to talk about, even though I get demonetized. So I'm going to be promoting, again, once I'm a little more educated about what the blue wrenchy thingy is, instead of calling it, hey, want to be a blue wrenchy thingy subscriber and give me $5 a month? But I'll get to that point. Speaking of ads, I want to throw this in there. Let's see. Do I want to do this one? No, that one. Yeah, it's just make me small, make them big. I did a little Google search here. I Googled Hollywood and alcohol brands, and then I clicked on images. Speak of these little devils, this is the first one that came up. There's George Clooney. I think that's Jay-Z, and that's Deadpool guy. And there's his aviation gin. There's whatever he peddles, and there's whatever he peddles. And I just wanted to go through these. Almost all of us are going to recognize most of these people. There's the Breaking Bad guys, and their booze of choice, Dos Hombres. I have no idea who's in that picture, but the title here if I were to click on it, 31 iconic celebrity-owned alcohol brands. There's Deadpool guy again, pushing his drug of choice, aviation gin. There's Clooney, and I have no idea who that is. And that's probably some $1,000 bottle of rot gut, no different than a $15 bottle of rot gut. Who are these people? See if I recognize any of them. There's Breaking Bad guy. There's Deadpool guy. She's hot, but no idea who she is. Don't know him. Y'all may know these people. I don't know. Don't recognize any of them. Oh, look at this clown. I know this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but there's just something about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson that just rubs me the wrong way. I think he's hiding something. I don't know what it is. That dude's like 48 or maybe 50 and still looks like that. And look at him. Drink my shit. Drink it all. You look like me. You look like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And here's a bunch of different colored bottles of all the shit that I'm peddling. I'm 50 years old, and I'm sure he's going to say everything's all natural. Bullshit. There's Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Yeah, remember when Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch? People like Miss Mary, she'll remember that. Young kids, y'all won't know that. He's just going to be some clown pushing drugs. Alcohol. Alcohol. In his movies. But before he was a famous celebrity and movie star, He was a rapper, a white boy rapper, it was Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, and he had these 6-pack abs, and he's always pretty well. He maintains really active. But I promise you, I guarantee you, you don't get 6-pack abs and bulging, shoulders and by by drinking this crap. You just don't. It's a myth. Oh, here's the one that the young people will know. What's his name? Post Malone. Again, I don't care for his music at all, but every interview I've ever seen him, he seems like a hell of a nice guy, like super nice guy. But even he's, I'm sure, pushing his alcohol. They all do it, or a lot of them do it. Go back to just me. Retro. Wolf says drink for fun. Well, yeah, I don't have any expectation, even if my channel did, or that this podcast did blow up. I don't have any expectation that people are actually going to ever stop drinking alcohol. But if you want to be amongst the wiser of the wise, I would suggest not doing it, because it's just going to lead to problems. I promise you, everybody who's a regular drinker has had some kind of problems that they can associate with booze. It makes you loose. It makes men become more caveman-like. And it makes women become extremely flirty. There's an old song called Tequila Makes Her Clothes Fall Off. It was cute when it came out. We all laughed about it. But the funny thing about jokes is there's an element of truth to it. And there is an element of truth to it. Tequila, especially in women, I don't know why. And I kind of hate to admit this, but it's true. I got firsthand experience with it. I know women who would never, not necessarily do that sort of thing, especially on a first date. Whatever they're drinking by normally, and then get them a few shots of tequila. Off they go. That's some strong shit. And again, there's some people that say alcohol doesn't change who you are, it reveals it. I simply disagree. I think alcohol would make you do things that you would not normally do. One of those things is get all loosey-goosey and cheat on your husband or cheat on your wife or your girlfriend. You go over to a party and everyone's, getting there and everyone's sober, everyone's kind of friends. They would never normally do anything outside of, just talking, laughing, shake hands, tell, jokes or, how the kids, that sort of thing. But then you wait about 5 hours and everyone's tanked up and the lights are out and these rooms are just conveniently there. Those beds are just aching to get in. And you just got in a fight with your husband, he's being a dick, or you just got in a fight with your wife or your girlfriend, and they go off and some girl's crying and some caveman drunk asshole comes, just they hate to see these poor crying women, and then they care about them and want to talk to them. And next thing you know, they're naked and, having sex. And that's just what happens. It doesn't happen every time. I'm fully aware of that. There's been plenty of times of, I would be out with whomever I was with and, it was just us and, nothing necessarily bad, but eventually, mark my words, for the people like Wolf and a few others that were asking me about what it's like for alcohol and why you get addicted. I've never really tried it much. Trust me, when eventually, you've always heard about how it ruins relationships and ruins families. That's why you get loosey goosey. When you're sober, you would a decent man or a decent woman who would never dream of hurting the feelings of whoever they love, their husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, never dreamed of doing that. You get enough alcohol on a regular basis, and the wheels get set in motion. The dominoes start falling. The every perfect It's the perfect storm. Every possible horrible thing that you could possibly have all at once. A fight with your spouse, just drinking with just a friend. It all it never fails. It will eventually create the perfect storm, and then you screw somebody that yet you shouldn't have done it. And then you can either justify it or rationalize it or keep it a secret. That's another thing that alcoholics do. They're good at keeping secrets. They don't want people to know that they've got a problem. They keep things from their own families. And then something happens, and especially with modern days with these everywhere, a video pops up of you cheating on your wife with some broad, some poor drunk crying girl, and then you get to explain that to your family. You get to explain to your kids why mom just left and kicked you out, and you get to explain why the money's going to the family court lawyers. And that's just how that works. That's exactly how that works. And that is the reason I would imagine that prohibition was ever, you know, enacted in the first place, because back then it was the different times. Only men went to work for the most part. Women did not work, and if they did, they were hookers. And these women got fed up with their husbands being so drunk all the time that they got a hold of Congress, and that's how that happened. Is as good as it sounds on the surface, prohibition just doesn't work. What's up, Pepe D's Nuts? Caleb, you should watch Thought Mommies on YouTube. It's funny AF. I don't think I will. I think that would probably just make me want to vomit in my mouth. That sounds about as fun as watching the LeBrant family on YouTube. I was talking about them last night. Dan and Deter, rain makes corn, corn makes whiskey, whiskey makes my baby feel frisky. Know that song? Yes, it's a country song. And it's cute and it's fun, and people think, and they made a lot of money by making that song, and it'll also make your baby feel frisky for somebody else. And somebody else could be all drunk, or you'll go be all passed out, and she'll just be dancing with a friend, and then they just kind of fall over in the bed or the back of the truck, whatever. And then you wake up with this stranger. Name man, not stranger, strangers, plural. Maybe you wake up with several people in your bed, and your clothes are off and their clothes are off, and your wedding ring's there, or maybe it's in your pocket, and then you got to live with the guilt. Either live with the guilt or you come clean. You come clean, you risk losing half your shit in the family court. Callie Billy, I drank for fun and to be less introverted and Q. Yeah, Callie, I'm not sure, Callie, when you came on, but that's when I was just a social drinker before all the Parker stuff happened. That's exactly why I did it, because I am an introvert, and it does loosen you up. And you get loosened up and you get attention, and especially if you're single, you're wanting to pick up someone for the night or something. And what better way than be the life of the party? What better way to become the life of a party? Get the loose juice. You get real loose, especially when you start buying it for other people. Oh, you're the life. Yeah. Then you go broke. Then you take home some skank or something. Oops, I probably shouldn't have said that. I'll probably get demonetized for saying that word, but oh well. Nuke, aka Dop, Moss Elite. I don't drink anymore because the last time I drank, I had a full bottle of rum and felt terrible the next day. But that's nothing compared to the tense pain I'm feeling on the left side of my face. Oh, from being like laid down, I guess. Or is that some kind of joke that I'm not privy to? I don't know. Oh, we get it. Your face hurts. Yeah, I probably just walked into some joke that I'm not even I have no clue what it means. Panda, was there anything you did drunk that you wouldn't have done sober? Yeah. Yeah, I took home some strippers. Wouldn't have done that. There for a while, I was paying their electric bills, I would imagine. Um, yeah, I slept with people that I shouldn't have had no business sleeping with. I shouldn't have done it. And it's just kind of gross. Um, it's not really fun admitting that, but when you're younger, you want to they call it your body count. Uh, it's kind of fun to brag about it when you're young. When you get old, or for me anyways, I have no desire whatsoever. Uh, so yeah, that's what I did, and a lot of people do it. I dare say that half of every baby born in America was conceived by drunk parents. I wasn't talking to you. Oh, me? Oh, okay. Good for you. Go back to talking about your lame drinking habits. Okay. I have no idea who you're talking to. I don't think you're talking to me because I don't have drinking habits. I have non-drinking habits. Okay, y'all must be arguing. I have no idea. Whenever you say I wasn't talking to you, how the hell is anybody supposed to know who you're talking to? Well, kiddies, I pretty much covered about everything I wanted to cover. Unless y'all got any more questions about you think somebody that has a problem might find interesting from someone like me, my point of view. Is Rebel Nazarene there?
Yo, Caleb, what's up, buddy? How's it going?
Doing well, Rebel Nazarene. Are you the one that called in the other day about we were talking about conspiracy theories or something? I can't remember. Flat Earth?
Yeah, and it's funny. It wasn't during the call, but sort of like a couple minutes after I hopped off. Like you showed that little tattoo on your forearm. I was so surprised to see that. I had no idea you had that on there. That's
Oh,
hilarious, man.
yeah, the question everything one.
Yeah, but okay, so that's what it says in letters. But the symbol is that the triangle with the eye in the middle of it.
Yeah, the
Like,
all-seeing eye. If you look on the $1 bill, it's on the
right.
back of the $1 bill, the
Uh-huh.
all-seeing eye, and it says, $1 and in God we trust. But if you
Right.
notice, it's hard to. I don't know if I get it in the camera. The font, mine says question everything,
Uh-huh.
but it's in the same font as what's on the back of the $1 bill.
Gotcha.
That was back when I was in real big into Ron Paul and the libertarian movement, and what
Mm.
learning what fiat money is, and central banks and Federal Reserve, and kind of plays into what we're doing now with or the state of the economy we're in right now with the inflation and the stagflation. But
Mm-hmm.
it was just a play on words. I'd say question everything, especially that. So
True.
what's on your mind?
Not much. I mean, I see the topic you have for tonight. I can't see it. I can't say I ever struggle with drinking. I used to be a big pothead though. That's for sure. Um,
And you
although
stopped?
I stopped not of my own will, and I don't know if this will be hard for you to believe, but I'm 30 now. I used to smoke. I started smoking weed in sixth grade. So whatever the
Mhm.
age that is, that's like it's got to be around 12 or
12.
13.
Yeah,
Yeah,
12, 13. Yeah,
exactly right. And
I'll believe it.
oh yeah. No, I'm saying you might not believe how I stopped. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay. Well, who humor me? Tell me.
yeah,
What made you stop? Who made you stop? Was she pretty?
you know, it wasn't a lady. You could say it was a masculine energy actually, and it was actually well no just to give a little context, yeah, every day since sixth grade, pretty much, I used to. I mean, I used to go out of my way to like scrap up the money to to get that eighth bag of weed from my friend, and go across town, whatever. I just need that fix. I'm just glad it never happened for any kind of hard drugs or anything. I was too much of a, you could say, a pussy to kind of do anything hard like crack or meth or anything like that, or
I
or even
I wouldn't call you pussy at all for that. I'd say you're very wise.
right. Yeah, yeah. Because I was always very health conscious. I thought weed, was just like a plant that grew and somehow it worked with our bodies to like give us that feeling that it does. So I kind of stick with that, even though a lot of my friends were going to the local pharmacy and popping pills and drinking, So yeah, every day, just classic pothead, and especially me being Ethiopian, I uh I delved into like the whole reggae culture about the Rastafari stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I listened to Bob Marley and all that stuff, and I was like, and I started growing my hair out. I have dreadlocks now, so I just thought it was a big part of me. Like I just thought it was part of my identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I never saw myself quitting. But okay, so if you remember from our last conversation, I said when I came across the flat Earth revelation, it changed my life for the better and just a completely 180. A big part of that is because it made me realize, at least for me, I know how people have different opinions about this, but
Sure.
for me
Yeah.
personally, it led me to believe that the Bible is the true word of God because of how it describes the nature of the earth and the cosmology. Um, and so I accepted Yeshua the Messiah as my savior, who the world calls Jesus Christ. I just like using the original Hebrew name.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see. So that was 2 years ago, and I want to say maybe like just a couple weeks into my new faith, or even a month or so, I grabbed maybe, let's say, a quarter of weed from my friend, an old friend, and it was the first time I did it in a while. Um, and I went back home to smoke it. And the first night I was okay. The second night I was watching a UFC fight on a Saturday night, and man, I mean, my heart started beating out of my chest. I got this big, huge energy rush, like that went to the top of my head, all throughout my body. I was like sweating profusely. I I just thought I maybe smoked some weed that was like laced with like PCP or a hard drug.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I hit up the guy about it, and he was like, and he just kind of brushed it off. He laughed it off, like he was like, "Yeah, man, I have some really good stuff." I was like, "Okay." So I smoked it again the second night, and the same thing happened. Like I just started flipping out. I mean, I've smoked too much weed before to the point where I had to throw up. They call it like greening out or something. It's like a little bit of an overdose. So I know what it feels like to overdose on weed in a sense, but it was nothing like this. And so the third day, the same the same feeling happened without me smoking it at all. And so I freaked out. I called my friend. He rushed me to the emergency room. My first time ever going to the hospital. Um, and they drug tested me. They couldn't find anything. They tested my blood, couldn't find nothing. They checked all my vitals, my heartbeat, and they said nothing was wrong with me. And basically I went back home with a hefty bill, which actually I applied for. Yeah, it was crazy. They actually, when they put the IV in me, they like, it made me feel worse. So um but I actually didn't and I didn't end up having to pay the bill because I applied for financial assistance, and they completely relieved me of my bill, so thank God for that. But okay, so sorry. Long story short, um, I ended up giving some of this weed that I still held on to some of my other friends that smoked, and they tried it, and because they had no problem with it, basically what I concluded, what happened was it was God's way of telling me that He doesn't want me smoking weed anymore.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think you and my buddy Eddie Dunn would probably get along really, really well. I'm not mistaken. Y'all are kind of right along the same path, spiritually speaking.
yeah, because I mean, if the weed wasn't laced, what else could it be? And it timing up with my new faith in God, just removed from a couple weeks before then. The only conclusion I can make is that God, and there's two places in Scripture that says if God accepts you as His son, He will correct you and rebuke you and chastise you, even because He does it because He loves you, and not that it's not like a bad thing that you should grieve about it. Actually, you should be glad about it because He accepts you as His son. So when looking at it that way, it's like, wow, okay. And I'm totally changed now. I don't wake up feeling the need to wake and bake, as they call it.
Hmm.
Or
Hey man, yeah. If religion works for you, I'm all for it. I mean, I make jokes about it, and I know I get under people's skin sometime. I'm not anti-religion. Like, I'm really not. And in fact, and I'm not even an atheist. I happen to believe that there probably is some kind of higher power. And but yeah, if you, as far as religion goes, I think if you want to be religious, grow into an adult. You said you're 30, right?
yeah, yeah,
You have grown your whole life and you found it, what, at age 28 then? You said you've been this religious for 2 years.
exactly. Yep. Hmm.
So at 28, you're obviously a grown man then. You've lived life. You've had sorrow. You've had victories. You've won races. You've lost races. You've had your, dick knocked in the dirt. You've had, good times and bad times at work or whatever, relationships, good, bad, whatever. You've lived some life and like many of us do, search for the answer to the great unknown. If religion is how you find it, I've never had a problem with that. My only problem with religion is, well, there's a bunch of them, but when it's pounded into young babies from birth, it's pounded in their heads. This is the way you want. This is the way you have to be. And if you don't act like this and recite this and go to our church and say these blessings and do this, then we're going to shun you from society. And they make people feel terrible about themselves. Um, you found your religion as a grown man, and it works for you. And if that keeps you off all the crazy drugs, I don't even consider weed a drug myself, but
Yeah.
to each their own. If that's what you enjoy and that's what keeps you going, I'm all for it.
Hmm.
So it's not for me. I came from the Christian faith. I had it pounded into my head. I don't know how much of my story you've heard me talk
A
about, but
little bit. Yeah.
I come from like
Hmm.
generations of Baptists. My grandfather, he was my, I don't know, third or fourth grade Sunday school teacher, and made sure all the kids knew their. And I'm not talking shit about my granddad. I loved it. I love that man, and I miss him his day. In fact, I remember the day he died, August 29th, 1994. I was a senior in high school. At the time, it was the worst day of my life. It was terrible. But I had that religion pounded into my head since birth. And then when I went through my divorce and then I lost my son, all these people that I knew and I knew went to church with the judges and the lawyers, they stole my son. They stole my bank account. They threw me in jail. They held me in jail. And they kept suing me over and over. And all these people somehow were related. And the common denominator for me was they're all Odessa Christians.
Hmm.
And so I got to the point in my life. I remember talking to some people about this. I think it was my parents. Either I'm a Christian and none of y'all are, or all of y'all are Christians and I'm not. But
Right.
it
Right.
absolutely cannot be
Be
both.
both. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've studied at that time, I'd started questioning my own faith. I read the Bible more since I quit being a believer than I ever
Hmm.
did as a believer. So that's kind of what we were talking about here. What's the definition of alcoholic? What's the definition of a Christian?
Hmm.
You know,
Right.
they say they break it down to the very basic. Accept the Lord Jesus Christ, your personal
Right. And
Savior,
that's it.
abide in your heart, and that's it. No matter what
Right.
you
Right.
do. Well, and by that metric, I've already done that. In fact, I did the just in case prayer one time or a couple times, just in case I didn't know what I was talking about. Maybe I want to make sure when I die, I'm going to be a Christian.
Right.
So by that logic, now me being an agnostic, basically saying I have no idea. I don't know. I don't. I tell Jesus jokes, and I don't go to church. I don't do any of that stuff. But by that metric, I'm still a Christian. Once saved, always saved. Some say,
Hmm. True.
but I have no idea. I personally, it just doesn't do anything for me. I think
Yeah.
for me, it's all made up. Everyone knows that the keepers of history are always the victors of war,
Hmm.
and the victors of war, they can change things however they want. I mean, look at the history. History is being changed as we speak. This is this very day. this cancel culture, pretend stuff never happened, and it's
Right. That's
and
funny.
this is just our own generation that we're in right now. What about our parents' generation and grandparents and so on, so on? There's what, maybe 5 generations that can be born in a century.
Hmm.
The time of Jesus, that was 20 of those ago. So 20, 2,000 years,
Right.
20 times 5, that's 100. That's 100 generations ago that these stories allegedly happened and
Hmm.
were kept in all these various books and texts. And personally, for me, I just know too many awful people. And it just seems like the worst of the worst are always the rulers, the ones, the decision makers, the ones who make all the rules and do and get into the government and make the tax, collect the taxes. And they're the most evil of evil. Well, if they can do that, who's to say that over 100 generations that story never got changed at all? It just
Mm.
seems a little far-fetched to me. Hell, even in Sunday school when I was a teenager, we'd hold hands and in a big old circle, like 20 of us. And one person would start off and they'd whisper something to the person on their left, like a, 5-word sentence. And then that person would whisper it to the next person. By the time it got all the way around, and the last person said what he thought it was, the first
Is-
person holds up the sign, and it has nothing to do
right.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
And the ironic part, that was taught to me in church, and now I completely use it against them. Like, we're
Right. That's
literally
funny.
proving things that are
Oh
passed
man.
down for 100 generations.
Mm. No, I hear you, brother. Yeah.
I'm not
No.
trying to talk you out of your religion. This is
No.
just a
No.
discussion.
Yeah. No. And besides that story I just told you, before that I went through, uh, I went through a very powerful, you could say, spiritual experience where it was actually even it was even more strong and powerful of a feeling I had throughout my body that you know and that one was actually I called 911 for the first time, and I literally thought I was dying
How
because
how old are you?
this would be 2 years ago. It's 28. Yeah.
So it was a right around the time you converted.
Yes, exactly. This was right. This was a couple weeks before the hospital story I just told you about.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I just to make it Cliff's notes, because I know you've already been streaming for an hour. Um, you
Oh, you're
know,
fine.
I
Go ahead.
I went to I went to go get a burger from from the local IHOP, and came back home and ate it, half of it, and about 30 minutes later, I I felt this like, yeah, kind of like I was saying earlier, but a little different. It was starting from my feet. A huge energy rush came like slowly up my body, like up my legs, up my waist, chest, neck, and then it stopped on my head, and it felt like my head was gonna explode. And I was still working from home at the time, and so I just ran into my mom's room, and I was like, "Mom, I think I got poisoned, and I feel like I'm dying. Like please call the ambulance." But then me being so skeptical about things, in my head I was thinking the CIA had poisoned me because I live. No, no,
Whoa.
seriously, I'm not even kidding. Because I live here in Northern Virginia, and the CIA headquarters is here in Langley, Virginia. You know what I mean?
Well, we all know, we've all figured out what poisoned you. It's the fact that IHOP started selling burgers, what, 4 years ago? That's just an abomination. That's a breakfast place, man.
Right. Hey, they're not, I don't know if you tried them. They're not bad. They're not
Are
hard.
they not?
Yeah, they're decent.
I think I might have had one. I'm just kidding. That
Yeah.
was, I remember when those memes came out, people were like, "Oh, what the hell? That's like un-American."
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
burgers.
a little marketing scheme they had was they flipped the P of the IHOP they flipped it around to make it into a B to turn into the International House of Burgers instead of pancakes. So that's how they kind of started it. And they're not bad though.
Is it really like that? Is it really flipped like to this day?
No, not just to
Just a
market.
just a marketing, okay, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, as a
Okay,
little.
I think I vaguely remember that.
Yeah,
That was only a few years ago, though. Man.
exactly. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, because I told you I've been looking into these conspiracies. I thought maybe the CIA was on me and they wanted to take me out because I've been exposing too much of what they've been hiding, or whatever. Like that was a legitimate thought in my mind. Um,
Well,
because
I'm
I
not
just
saying that doesn't happen, but probably, I mean, you'd have to be like,
like a bigger fish to fry, right?
yeah, a bigger fish, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Unless you are a big fish, and I just don't know. I mean, maybe you are a big fish.
Well, no, I can tell.
You Lee Harvey Oswald, big fish.
Right, exactly. Well, obviously that wasn't the case because I'm still alive now, right?
Right.
But I'm just telling you that was my mental, train of thought at the time. Um, but I told my mom not to call the ambulance anymore because I thought part of their plan was to actually get me to call the hospital to pick me up, and then that's where they would kill me, like in the hospital. You know what I mean? Like I like my mental thought went that far ahead. So I was like, okay, hold on, mom, wait a minute. So I just ended up calling the cops myself, 911, first time ever in my life. Okay, and then I went outside. I immediately started to feel some relief, maybe because of the fresh air or whatever. But I was still like my head like was just not in a headache kind of sense, but like it was just like a lot of pressure. There was like a lot of pressure in my like forehead region. Like it felt like it was gonna explode kind of thing. And
Mhm.
so ended up staying on the phone with the lady, the operator, for about 10 minutes, just telling her like, please stay on the phone. I know this is really weird, but I feel like I can just pass out any moment here. Um, but anyway, so it ended up going away, and I just went back to my house and
Well,
kind
what
of,
was it? What do you think it really was? Looking back.
well, yeah. So now that I'm still alive and I ended up not getting poisoned by whatever three-letter agency, what have you, I think it was God telling me, you know, like, hey, in a physical, in a physical slash spiritual sense, I believe He was baptizing me with the fire of the Holy Spirit, like the scriptures say, because right after that, my eye vision started getting clear, my hair started growing faster, some nagging injuries I had in my upper back and knee started going away, right? And even my Spanish that I have been learning in school, that started getting more fluent, amongst some other things. So
See,
that told me,
my question every time I hear stories like this
yeah,
is God really not capable of just being like kind of upfront? Like, just present yourself and, lift up a tractor or something and just prove you're God and say, "Hey, I'm God, dude. Like, I want you to quit smoking pot and I want you to do this and that." And why can't I just never understood if he's omnipresent and omniscient and all everything lovey feely, why so vague? Why does it always have to be so vague? Because I mean, I know what I'm sure your conviction is real to you,
yeah,
but I mean, you sound like an intelligent person. You've got to know that that's when people like me or anyone else that's not religious to us, we're just like, dude, you're on some trippy mushrooms or
right, right,
flashbacks because I mean
yeah.
that's just so fantastic. Again, I'm not trying to insult or anything. I'm just giving you a different perspective. I've always wondered why so vague. Why does God have to be so vague? And I've heard the story of Job. And you're going to go through trials and tribulations,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I'm 45 fucking years old. How much more pain? How much longer do I have to wait for
Right.
for this big reveal plan?
Mm.
I'm like, if you're that loving and caring and omniscient and all powerful, just straight up show me. I'll believe it. Just give me a sign.
No, I totally hear what you're saying, Caleb. I would argue His Majesty and grand power, um, is kind of just shown all throughout His creation. Like if you go to any national park or if you look at all the beautiful wildlife out there, like I think He shows an expression of His character through like how He can create something as fierce as like a crocodile or alligator or lion, or something as cute as like a little bird or puppy. I think He kind of shows Himself that way.
Again, it's just vague because um I mean you can just call me right up on my here on my show and I'm like I can I can show you. I'm a real human being. If I wanted to, I could, cut myself and you could see that I bleed. I'm real.
Right.
But I just don't understand that a God that, I mean, why jack with people like that? Just I'm the type of person, just spit it out. What is it? To me, it's like a relationship. Babe, I cannot look up your ass and read your mind. What do you want me to do? Just tell me, and then I'll know what to do. I can't figure. I'm not getting the hints, so I just don't know why. If God's so powerful, it's not like it costs him anything. He supposedly made everything.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously made things complicated, very, very complicated.
Yeah, there's definitely not. I definitely don't understand everything. There's people that have been reading the Bible a whole lot longer than I have, and so I have a lot more to go and learn about. It's definitely a daily process there.
Well, again,
Um,
I'm not trying to talk you out of your religion. I'm
no,
just
no,
I do really enjoy these type of debates. And again, I don't even know where my show is going to be going. We're way off the topic of what alcohol,
yeah, I know. Sorry about that.
but I mean, no. Maybe that's what my show turns into. I'll start out, on a particular topic or not a particular topic, and just find something we talk about, and then it just, at the end, it kind of, whoever wants to hang out and talk about the after game, the after thing, the things that happen afterward. This is fine to me. It's fine.
No, yeah, that's cool, man. I'm glad you're chill and open minded about that. But hey, let me just ask you this. It's kind of like a bigger picture thing that kind of lets me know whether or not believing in God or the biblical God, or having the faith of a Christian is even something that they'd be interested in or something worth it to them, right? Like, does the idea of living forever in a new glorified body where you can fly as an angel and interact with any wild animal you want, like you could go ride with dolphins in the ocean, and because you can fly, you can do any kind of extreme sport like skateboarding or snowboarding and skiing without the risk of injury or fall because you can just fly out of it. You can eat all the best food, to its like utmost quality and standard because it'll be all natural and organic, growing from the best fertile, rich soil, and just stuff like that. You can live in any kind of house you want, decorate
Okay,
how.
I get it, but what's the question? I,
Yeah,
I, I understand what you're saying. What's the question?
my question is, like, do you have any desire to live forever in that kind of way, you know like after you die, or are you cool with dying and then like forgetting the fact that you ever existed in the first place?
I think it'd be awesome if there's an afterlife. I actually hope there is an afterlife. I just don't see any proof that there is. I mean, yeah, it'd be cool to basically be Superman in the next life. I think it'd be awesome. But then it gets into, as far as religion, to me, if that's your only reason for becoming
Hmm.
religious, you don't have proof, because there is no such thing as proof. Even religious people, most of them, the competent ones, will tell you that there's no concrete proof.
Hmm.
That to me, that's like, I call them the just in case Christians. Just in
Right.
case there really is pearly gates and the streets paved of gold, just in case there really is a place like that. Yeah, yeah. What the hell? Hey, what's up, Jesus? Come into my heart. Yeah, I'll put my money in the tithes and the penny pass the plate, and yeah, I'll go to church and I'll
Well,
accept.
I don't do any of that, but yeah, I know
Well,
what
you
you
know
mean.
what I mean. That I
Yeah.
just, to me, that's I'm doing this just in case.
Mm.
That's not to me. That's not what you are. To me, from what little I know of you, you've got conviction. This is real to you, and you want to
100%.
see this. You have a genuine desire to it. Versus a lot of people that are try to convert people like me, is, it's like, hey, look what I got.
Right.
Look what cool toy I got. You want this? You want these pearly gate and these streets of gold. You want to be able to live like a rock star and not suffer the consequences when you die. You don't want to burn in fiery flames of hell,
Right.
do you,
Yeah,
Caleb?
yeah.
You better come over here. Well, I'm like,
Hmm.
what the hell are you selling? If you're gonna tempt me like that, like scare me into it. That's what religion to me has always been. They frighten the shit out of you to behave and believe as they believe.
Mm-hmm.
And who's to say which one's right?
Mm-hmm.
There's hundreds, if not over 1,000 different gods that various cultures around the world for eons
Right.
have worshipped. Which one's real? The most
Mm-hmm.
popular one?
Right.
The least popular one? Do we find a mean medium right in the middle? It's not as popular as Jesus, but not, Uncle Fred's, mystic ghost
Like
chases,
cult.
a cult. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we find somewhere in the middle and find is that the real God? I don't know. And that's my question to religious people, whether it's your God that you or anybody, how do you know that yours is, and other than you just feel it? And I get it. If you just feel it, you just feel it. Great. Okay, that's a fair answer to me, but I don't feel it. I never have really. I thought I felt it back when I was religious from age 34 and previous. I really thought I did, but now since age 34, I'm going 10, 11 years now, or well, pretty much when Parker was taken to me, that's when I gave up. I was like, fuck this. Y'all are all full of shit. Y'all can all burn in whatever hell you think exists. I just completely, so 9 years I'd already been questioning my faith by that point, but I just completely gave up on it after they did that to my son, because I told myself no loving God would ever do this, not just to me, but a child. That's bull crap. If there may be a God, but he most certainly is not benevolent. That was my thinking. It actually still is my thinking. Look at all the suffering of. We're the only
Yeah.
reason this channel exists, and there's people in here listening, is because we're suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Either most people who tune into my stuff have either been through the family court, or in the family court, or
Mm-hmm.
they know somebody who's directly affected by it, and it hurts. We're all hurting. Where is this benevolent, loving God
Mm.
that it's making that all they could cure all these cancers, particularly of babies? Where is he?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, you're right. The problem of evil and suffering, and just all the s- very negative stuff that people go through is definitely a tough concept. I think it might be a little nuanced. I'm not sure how much is to blame on God or for people's actions themselves, but maybe a lot of the blame does go back to God, because he was responsible for just having it be an option for it to be possible, to happen in this creation of his. But yeah, you're right. But before I forget, just to go back on what you were saying about the what did you how did you refer to them, the maybe Christians or something? Oh, just in case.
Just in
Just
case.
okay.
Yeah.
Just to go back on that, you see, well, first in Matthew 7, the Messiah says, "Not everyone that says unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he that does the will of my Father. And many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name? Have we not cast out devils? Have we not done many wonderful works? And then I will profess unto them and say, I never knew you. Depart from
I,
me,
knew,
you,
I never knew you. You're never in my book or what.
yeah,
Yeah.
you that work lawlessness." Exactly. So,
That's kind of what the verse that I was thinking about whenever I came to my final conclusion when they took my son away from me. When I told my parents and everyone else, either y'all are all Christians and I'm not, or I'm a Christian and you're not, but it absolutely cannot be both.
right.
That's that verse. I didn't have it memorized, but that's what was going through my head. Y'all can say you're Christians all you want, but according to your own Bible, I will spew you out of my mouth if you're,
Hey, dude.
warm.
Yeah. See, okay. So you do know that's the one. That's the next one I was going to go to, which is even more relatable. Christ
Yeah,
says
I
himself.
really was a practicing Christian. I promise. Some people don't believe me, but I really was. I mean, I went to church with these people.
Yeah. So um, yeah, just to say it, because you mentioned it, that's in the one you just mentioned now. That's in Revelation 3, um, chapter 3, verse 15 to 16. He says, I know your works, that you are neither cold nor hot, and I wish you were cold or hot. So then, because you are lukewarm, neither cold nor hot, I will spew ye I will spew you out of my mouth. Absolutely, yeah. So, when you say just in case Christians, well, that's exactly what he was talking about here. And apparently their fate is not looking like a good one. You see?
Well, then there might be hope for me after all. I might really be one of the few Christians. Maybe that's what they're talking about, the 100,000. Maybe I'm that special.
144, yeah.
144,000.
Right.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
Next thing you'll know, I'm going to be claiming to be a deity myself.
Oh God.
Worship me, bow now.
Right. That's funny.
Rebel, God dang, it's been good talking to you.
Yeah, you too, man.
If you tune in, maybe this will be where this morphs into. I'll start out talking about whatever's on my mind, and the after hours we just get into the crazy stuff that just kind of like a free for all. But thanks, brother. Take care.
All right, you too, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Here's Mr. Edward. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Well, I'm having a strange discussion about religion, and I had no idea that when I woke up this morning that I was going to be talking about, much less the topic I did talk about, alcohol. I'd be talking about this conversation I just had with this fellow about religion. What are you doing? How are you?
I'm doing okay. Just hanging around there. I was in your chat room, and I wanted to leave a comment, but I wasn't able to. And then I was thinking to myself, I said, okay, they're trying to separate us now. They're trying to do the bad deeds.
I don't think Miss Mary would. I think she's the only moderator. I don't think she would have jinxed or blitzed you out of there.
Well, I thought, and then I thought maybe I said, well, maybe it's for members only. I don't know.
I know it gives me that option. But, members. That was the word I was looking for earlier. Not a subscriber, but members that eventually I'm going to be, promoting. Gives me that option, but I've got like 6 members or 5, and I don't have very many members, so I just leave it open to everybody. Maybe someday I'll get to that point to to keep the scrolling from going too fast. For the people that actually pay a monthly fee. I may, but no, okay, yeah. Mary's just saying I've not blocked anyone in a very long time. I don't know what happened. There's a possibility I might have, and I know every now and then when I click on something, there's a window. It says block this user. I might have accidentally, but I'll check it when we get off.
It's no big deal. I thought, I said, well, if I can't get it one way, I'll see if I can go through this way.
Well, what's on your mind? Something different from yesterday, or what's on your mind?
No. Believe me, if there was, trust me, I would have been here a long time ago. But no, I just came out here just to see what y'all yapping about. I kind of steer clear of religion, so I'm not going to even go that route. So
yeah, I typically don't, because it's one of those, there is no real definitive answer. No one, we're never ever going to universally agree on who's right and who's wrong.
It's one of those sensitive topics that I don't touch.
As long as I go into it with somebody knowing that it's just a discussion, I'm not here to change anyone's mind or claw eyes out if you don't agree exactly with me. As long as it's civil, I think it's healthy debate. But
yeah.
Well, if you don't want to get into religion, you got any nasty alcohol stories that you regret? Come on, tell me.
No, well, my nasty alcohol story is kind of like I left those way back in college.
Good. That's a great place to leave alcohol, in the fucking dirt back in college.
Yeah, that pretty much goes back to like 1993.
Mm-hmm. So you're just a little bit older than me. I graduated high school in 1995.
Well, I graduated high school in 85.
Oh, okay. So you're 55.
I was in college from 89 to 93.
Okay. Well,
and I went to a technical school in Waco. It was TSTI at the time. I don't know what it is now. And yeah, it was like every Friday and Saturday, I would go to my I would go with my dorm room roommates and just go get lit up. And pretty much after that, after a while, kind of get tired of it and get
Were
tired of
you in,
headaches and all that kind of good mess. And I just
were you,
realized that, you know what, this ain't for me.
do you miss it?
No.
Oh, neither.
But
I'm
don't get
only,
me wrong, I do have an occasional Corona, but I don't abuse it.
yeah. Well, there are people I know that just every now and then a drink. I mean, big deal, whatever. We only get one life. You want to, like, I'm not even saying I will never drink at this moment. I say that, but I may change my mind. I may have a drink sometime. Maybe. I don't plan
Yeah.
on it at the moment, but I might. But I'll never go back to ever going back to where I was or I have it just to sleep.
No, it ain't no benefit in it.
I got to ask though, you said you're in Waco in the early 90s. Were you in
Yeah.
Waco when the massacre happened?
Do what now?
Were you in Waco when the what was her name? Janet Reno, and Bill Clinton, they had the Koresh
Oh
the
no,
Branch Davidians?
no, I wasn't. No, I wasn't there at that time. No,
Okay, I was just curious. I remember
no.
when that happened. It was on TV in high school. I want to say it was 92, 93. I'm pretty sure I was in high school.
Yeah, no. I mean, no. I mean, I've seen it on television and everything like that, and I'm looking. I said, "Damn, I was there not too long ago," and all that was taking place while I was there. I mean, it just came to a head when they decided to storm the place,
Yeah, and murder men, women, children.
irresponsibly.
Yeah. But that's our illustrious, loving government that's all powerful, all feeling, all loving, all caring about all Americans all the time.
Yeah,
Go America.
yeah, I wasn't there, but I was just giving you a holler, let you know I was still here. I'm still around.
Okay. Well, brothers, good to see you again. I think I'm coming on 2 hours. I'm going to probably get off here because I think 2 hours is just a plenty healthy number. And um,
Okay.
I gotta save some energy for tomorrow anyways. My back's killing me. I did my sunlight work today out in the sun, and god dang, I feel good when I do it. Sober, out in the sun, still makes my back hurt. All right, brother, take care. It's good to see you again. And
All right, you too. Take care.
later, man. Kitties, I think I'm gonna call it a night. I'm getting a little sleepy. My voice is going. Um I never had my full voice this whole time. I have no idea why. Maybe I swallowed a frog when I was out in the sun working today. But Miss Mary, thank you for being the moderator. I'm so glad it's more calm down now. Y'all don't hit your cheerings, and I'll be back. Should be back tomorrow. That's the plan, anyways. Y'all take care. Bye.